So I want to welcome everyone, whether you're here in person or with us on Zoom or watching on YouTube. Let's just take a moment to breathe, to feel the sanctity of whatever space we are in at this moment, whether it's our actual sanctuary or the sanctuary of your home. Putting down whatever we're carrying from the week and making spiritual space for peace and for rest and for holiness. We are beginning in the prayer book on page 127. That's in the bracketed numbers. If you don't have a prayer book, they're over by the door. Page 127 in the bracketed numbers, if you have two sets of numbers. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Is there someone who would like the honor of doing the blessing over the candles today? It's on page 120 and 121. Anybody in the room want to do the candle blessing? Don't all shout at once. Anyone on Zoom want to do the candle blessing? If you have candles ready, or I can light the candles and you can do the blessing. Anybody? Allie! Allie Levin steps up. Come on up here. Okay. I'll just go ahead and light the candles, okay? You need to get right up to that microphone.
Great. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you so much. I can't tell if the candles are visible or not. Can y'all on Zoom see the candles? No? Okay. Well, let's turn to the Kiddush. Is there somebody on Zoom who would like to lead the Kiddush, perhaps? Anyone? No? All right, Ron, come on up. You get to actually drink the wine, but you have to come right up to this mic, put it right against your mask. Seriously, right against your mask. I'm not kidding. Here, I can hold it.
Page 123. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who, finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. At first, among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
If you're able, I invite you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת בכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Remember when Pearl asked if it was high C?
Ron says it was a good year. You may be seated. We're going to continue with Yedid Nefesh. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 128.
And just one thing about this Yedid Nefesh, I've never ever done any other setting than the one that we always do of Yedid Nefesh. And tonight, I'm going to do this beautiful setting by Craig Taubman. And it says here, heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms, and the music itself seems to offer the translation on its own.
ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, אב הרחמן. משכבתך אל רצונך, אל רצונך. ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, אב הרחמן. משכבתך אל רצונך, אל רצונך. ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל ישתחווה אל מול הדרך. ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, אב הרחמן. משכבתך אל רצונך, אל רצונך.
We continue with Lecha Dodi. It begins on, well, it is on page 138 in the prayer book. We sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And it's our custom on the last verse, the 9th verse, if you choose and if you're able to rise and face your doorway to bow as we welcome in the Shabbat bride, bringing joy and beauty to our Shabbat day.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמעו וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
I invite you to rise or remain standing if you're able for the Baruch Hu, page 146.
Sorry.
המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. יללי לילי, יללי לילי, יללי לילי.
On page 148, I invite you to read with me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat Olam is on page 150.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עוד אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני
Elohim. On page 157 in the bracketed numbers, I invite you to read with me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Ya bye bye bim bim bum, ya bye bye bim bum, ya bye bye bim bim bum, ya bye bye bim bum. Lai lai la la lai lai ab bye bye bim bum. Lai lai la la lai lai ab bye bye bim bum. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norati lotos felle. Norati lotos felle. Malechutecha rovanecha. Bokei hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli zeli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
B'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugealo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 161. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, עוד הילי עולם, עוד הילי עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The tefillah begins on page 164, and I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני. שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר, מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. On page 173, I invite you to read with me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. and let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. We come now to Modim, our prayer of gratitude, and it has become our custom here to use this time to give everyone a chance to say what they're grateful for this week. And so if you're on Zoom, if you'd like to put that into the chat, that's great. Or you can raise your hand electronically or unmute yourself so that I can acknowledge you and you can tell us out loud what you're feeling grateful for. And those in the room, what are you feeling grateful for today? You only have one option, which is to say it out loud. Anyone? Nathan? Absolutely. Sometimes it is enough to feel grateful that you wake up in the morning and do your exercises. And I'm here to tell you that for me, yes, waking up in the morning, but it's extra gratitude to do the exercises because that I sometimes have to push myself a little bit for that. But yeah, but it feels good then to do them. Who else? Let's see. Susan Sisler is grateful for the love and support of family and friends. Linda Kushner-Silverman got her Moderna booster and started PT again, so Modim Anachnu Lach for the ability to do that. Eslin, on Sunday, God willing, is going to be celebrating another birthday in her 70s.
Wow.
And she plans to go on a celebratory walk, among other desires. I know, Eslin, that you love to walk. Charlotte is grateful for friends and family. Diane Schenker, do you have something to share?
Just to be grateful for family and friends and good health for me and for Les.
Yes. Amen. Modim anachnu lach. Karen Kramer is grateful that we are approaching the holiday season. We left the holiday season behind, and we're approaching another holiday season. Who else? Gail. All right. Gail is grateful that she and Bob got their booster shots yesterday and that Bob got through this week and is doing okay. So Modim Anachnu Lach for that. Diane is grateful for getting her booster shot with no side effects. That's really nice. Patricia Matthews is grateful for being here but not loving Halloween. Emma Rose is grateful for being able to go surfing today. Emma Rose is one of our folks out on the West Coast in the San Diego area. And another one of our folks who's out there is Mary Lou, who is grateful to all be together for the beautiful acoustics of the sanctuary, Noni's presence and voice, booster vaccination, a lovely ride in the back country out to the egg ranch. Is that where all those free-range eggs are that I keep seeing in the grocery store? Sometimes you see free-range egg whites, and I just feel like I'm not sure how that works. Oozing along. Allie? Allie is grateful to be here, present with us, with new people. Is this your first time here? Yeah. It's her first time with us, so we can all be grateful for that. Phyllis, did you have something to add? Grateful for the parks we have that we've been able to walk in for the last year and a half. Let's see. The chat is going by quickly. Lori Pandolfo is thankful to Ron and Phyllis for bailing her out with servicemen to fix her power outage and alarm. What? Yes, and Phyllis adds, let's be grateful for the people who know how to fix things, for sure. Mary Lou, I know they're pastured hens. And Emma Rose says, welcome to Allie. Anybody else feeling grateful? Anybody else? Freema.
Unlike some people, I do like Halloween because it's a time to act crazy, and I'm going to my friend for a little party so we could laugh and act crazy and and sometimes release all of the stress that we're going through.
Okay, so
Any-
Freema is grateful that Halloween is coming. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how Halloween works these days, right? Anybody else? Any other gratitude? Grateful for music. Yes.
I'm grateful. Phyllis was talking about the city parks to walk in, and that Aaron is loving his job as an urban arborist, and he's taking care of planting trees in the parks. So
Oh, all right.
all
So
over the boroughs.
Aaron is Noni's son, and he is enjoying his work as an urban arborist, but actually probably you could hear her. Anybody else? Okay.
Yes,
Oh, please go ahead.
I'm grateful that Noni will be having choir rehearsals coming up in preparation for our Hanukkah celebration.
Yeah, we're going to have a
The more
choir.
the merrier. And we can scatter around here.
We're going
We
to
don't have
sing
sit
with
on top of
masks
them.
on. It's going to be a blast. But it's going to be super nice to be able to have a choir again. Absolutely. Yeah, Gordon says he's grateful to be able to be here in person with all of us. And I am grateful for that as well. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. We continue with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et uv'chol shah b'shlomecha Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim, tasim leolam. Tasim, tasim leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We've come now to our quiet prayer. There are words on pages 180 and 181 in the prayer book. If you can see the screen, there are words on the screen. And of course, we can always use the words that are in our own hearts. We continue quietly.
יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, וגואלי, וגואלי.
May the words of our mouths and the meditations in our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. Our Misha Baruch is on page 371. And I'd like to invite those of you on Zoom, if you have names to add, to put those in the chat now. And I'll give everyone a chance to add names aloud. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening Jesse Sakharov, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Rabbi Dara Lerner, Susan Sisler, Alan Fremer, Valerie Pace, George Landberg, Susan Bilecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Istvan Koloshvari, Randall Rose, Arthur Rose, Barbara Weiner, Joan Lifshitz, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Deanna Roth, Martha and Ed Vincent, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicki Lightnaker, Sarah Brooks Kamen, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Patricia Christensen, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Fran Arnowitz, Debbie Litchman, Beth Dugan, Arlene Scher, Hannah Paines, Karen Wilco, Shelley Samet, David Gershon, Stanley Tenon, Linda Kushner-Silverman, Ronnie Katlowitz, Jordan Smith, Sandra Pastor, Claire Florence Kramer, Henny Fisher, Ellen Greenfield, Irv Golden, Joellen Fox, Brian Abelman, Robert Freed, John Vanderhorn, Donna Clement, Florence Schoen, Cynthia Wilson, Hiroko Yajima Rhodes, Rachel Korazim, Della Cohen, Rita Soul, Lou Levinson. Trudy Sudin, Elliot Sokol, Jeff Horn, Baby Boy Raubvogel, Jody Siegel Stein, Saul Siegel, Sal Camiso, Lauren and Ian Silverman, Jennifer Magoob Silva, Ellen RM, Chanel Kamabach, Warren Feliz, Jimmy Jenkins, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Abraham Kalesi, those people suffering in St. Vincent, Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana, Israel, India, and Afghanistan. Seth Schrager, Stanley Tenen, Jackson and Tara Kushner, Karen Kramer, Joy Ojan, Lance Grant, Joycelyn Elbers, Lily Hall, Ron Cricky, Laura Cricky, Susan and Tony Vi, Jean and Larry Green, Zizi Potsdam, Merle Prop, Eve Heyman, Brenda McBasey, Brenda Kitroser, Joan Lifshitz, Suzanne Mishler Hernandez, Baby James Scarpola, Nancy Kelly, Paul Markowitz, Elliot Wolfsey, Mary Lou McGivney, Paul Markowitz, Bill McShane, Delphine Wolf, Dottie Tabakman, Pat Colella. Those of you here in the room, what names do you have to add? Those on Zoom, do you have any other names to add? Freema?
Sorry to unmute. Okay. Alan Rolnick, Carol Beanstalk, Francine Popowitz, Mitchell Popowitz, Kathy's brother Gabby, Martin Bennett, Lucy Palazzolo, David and Reva Cohen, and Phyllis O'Neill, and Sherry Amani. Thank you.
Ruth?
Something. Okay. John Belay, Liz Yasuda, Mark and Paul Steiner, Mimi and Celia Karp, Richard Zagam, Sharon and Nicole Moskowitz, Marion Mandel. Thank you.
Anyone else? We also include all of those suffering from COVID-19. We include those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, and those who have been hurt in recent disasters, whether natural or human created. Page 371 in the middle of the page.
Avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberachimotenu b'kor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you this evening, whether in person or on Zoom. I'm going to start not with this week's Torah portion, but with the very end of last week's Torah portion. Last week's Torah portion, Vayera, ended with the Akedah, the Abraham almost sacrificing his son Isaac. We read a poem before the service that referred to, it was in the voice of Sarah, Isaac's mother, Abraham's wife, and she said, while you were sacrificing our son before the angel stopped your hand, as if the sacrifice had already begun, and it actually killing Isaac was not itself the whole sacrifice, but only the end of the sacrifice. But the sacrifice began when they walked up the mountain together with no animal, just a knife and wood and a father and a son. And indeed, many people believe that that Isaac was irreparably damaged by that experience. And I think we can understand that. What kind of betrayal of trust could there be that is greater than a father coming so close to sacrificing his own son? And so we find out in this week's Torah portion that Isaac is returning from Be'er Lahoi Roi. Abraham and Isaac, as far as we know, did not come back together from that moment, that time, that almost sacrifice on Mount Moriah. Abraham comes back to Beersheba, and we don't know what happens to Isaac, except for we find out later, toward the end of this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, that as Abraham's servant is returning from Haran, where he went to look for a wife for Isaac on Abraham's instruction, that as they approach, they see Isaac walking in the field, and he's returning from Be'er Lahoi Roi. And that place is the place where Hagar, the concubine of Abraham, the mother of Ishmael, who was cast out from Abraham's household, that is where she sat with her son when she was afraid he was going to die in the wilderness. And God opened her eyes so that she could see a spring, a be'er, a well. And she named the place Lahoi Roi, which means something like God sees or God causes sight. And if that is where Isaac was coming from, Rabbi Shai Held suggests that there are many different manifestations of God and many different experiences of God. And Isaac had experienced a particularly terrifying one. So he went to a place where a very different kind of God had been encountered by Hagar, a God that saves, a God that takes care of, and that's what he was looking for when he went there. There are other interpretations that say that it does seem that God does care for Isaac for the rest of his life. Isaac is the only one of our patriarchs and matriarchs who never leaves the land of Canaan, the promised land. He is the only one who stays there for his whole life. And when there is a famine, when all of the other patriarchs and matriarchs go to Egypt, when every time there's a famine they go to Egypt, God says, no, you stay. You stay in the land. And he's very, very connected to the land. When Rebecca approaches on her camel and sees him, what he is doing, the Hebrew verb for what he is doing is lasuach, which might mean strolling or it might mean meditating. He's the only one in the whole Torah who just goes for a walk in the fields. He's the only one. As I was thinking about this week, I was reminded, my daughter Shoshana, who this was her bat mitzvah portion a few years ago, is a senior now and is looking at colleges. And I took her this week to visit SUNY Purchase College, which is only an hour away from our house when there's no traffic, but it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's not in the middle of nowhere. It's 15 minutes away from White Plains on one side and Rye on the other side, but you wouldn't know it because it's 500 acres of fields and trees and a cluster of buildings like in the middle of it. And that reminded me of a time 20 some years ago when I was a technology consultant and I was working with a client in Times Square Adweek at the same time that I was working with a client in Princeton, New Jersey, which was Bloomberg. They had a little personal finance magazine. And so, one week I was at Adweek, and every time I walked out of the building, it was like people and traffic and smells and people and crowded and stressful. And in Princeton, every time I walked out of this industrial park that was a building and a parking lot next to woods, it was quiet and there were birds and it smelled nice. And it was so peaceful that I immediately felt relaxed. And so one of the things I was talking to Shoshi about as we were talking about purchase was the setting where you are makes a difference in how you feel. And if you are in a natural setting, that naturally, I think, helps your anxiety to calm down and helps stress to drain away. And Ron said earlier that I think it was you, Ron, said you were grateful for the parks that we have to walk in. It was Phyllis who said she was grateful for the parks we have to walk in around here. And we do actually, we do have some nice parks where actually you can find yourself far enough in nature and we can get to water, which I think water is also really helpful in this way. Go for a walk on the beach or along the river. That these are things that can really help us when we are not feeling psychologically or emotionally okay. That's why some people think that God was taking care of Isaac, that Isaac was able to just stay in the land and go for walks and meditate in the fields after his terrible experience at the hands of his father, and then immediately after that, the death of his mother. As far as we know, he doesn't have much of a relationship with his father for the rest of his life. But when Rebekah arrives, we are told he took her into his mother's tent and he found comfort after the death of his mother. That's the other thing that we need. We need people and we need love. So I pray that we may find these places of comfort, these people of comfort, as we need them, and we do need them. We need them in the best of times, and we're not in, I think, the best of times. We're in times that are hard, but times are always sort of hard, and sometimes really hard for some people. May we find the comfort that we need. May we find the nature that we need. And may we feel a comforting, caring presence of the divine in whatever that means to us. Amen.
I've been blind to your presence, I've been deaf to your call. Head full of cries, full of lies, not clear at all. Now I'm left in the quiet where I weep and I pray. I said, God, I've been looking, and you said I've been here. Watching and waiting and yearning for you to reappear. Then I asked, do you love me? I've been so very wrong. You replied, I have loved you. I've loved you all along. God was in this place. God was in this place. God was in this place, and I did not know. I did not know. You are not atop a mountain, nor beyond the sea. Close as my breath, your words are in me. It is I who've been gone, it is I who have to learn that all you do is await my return. God was in this place. God was in this place. God was in this place, and I did not know. I did not know. God was in this place, and I did not know. I did not know.
We are turning now to the Aleinu, beginning on page 586 at the top of the page. I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו עינוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. I've put the yahrzeit list on the screen. Those of you here in the room have it in the bulletin. I'd like to invite those on Zoom, if you have names to add for the mourner's Kaddish, to put them in the chat. And I'll also give everyone a chance to add names aloud. We remember those who have died in the past year. Huma Saber, Layla Bloomfield, John Carfisi, Andy Glantzman, Todd Zeitlin, John Previtt Jr., Augie Dorio, Janet Esposito, Kay Josephs, Arnold Block, Elizabeth Clark, Kyle McGee Sr., Ida Houston, Louisa Espute, Perry De La Touche, Ira Roth, Roberta Hayrath, George Liss, the Reverend Claude Park Street, Sylvia Tishkovich, Ellen Belofsky, Cindy Retagliata, Dolores Weinberger, Suzanne Leknos, Shirley Kafker, Lillian Frost Ridgely, Thomas Marinan, Meg Goldate, Marguerite Romeo, John Young, Isadora Frost, Fred Perlman, Claire Kramer, Bob Ira Kleinberg, Dorothea Schuring, Peter Brandenberger, Lloyd Ricketts, Ellie Heimlich, Sherry Burns, Terry Singer, Henry Kuhn, Lily Zimmett, Bob Perlman, Ira Berkowitz, Bayumi Mohammed, Amy Zisovic, Mary Holland, Dorothy Webster, Robert Allen Santos Sr., Robert Bonenfant, Barry Strumpf, Judy Epstein, Dorothy Mason, Judy Panzer, Barry Ween, Charlotte Brown, David Schachter, Douglas Maines, Devorah Lewis, Tria Sapir, Jane Evans. On our yahrzeit list this week are included Saul Halpern, Lori Pandolfo's grandfather, Erwin Davis, Mona Goldberg's brother, Natalie Levine, Faye Guskin's mother, Morris Freed, Robert Freed's father, and Werner Friedlander, Natalie Friedlander's husband. I'd also like to mention Abraham J. Multer, who is on the list, and he was a judge and I know, a longtime member, and he's got a plaque on that throne right over there. We also include Lori Pandolfo's uncle Murray Hockhauser, Susan Bilecki's mother, who is on the list, Honey Rubowitz, Karen Kramer's mother, Lila Kramer. It's her 42nd yahrzeit. And tomorrow would have been Seth Kushner's birthday, Linda Kushner Silverman's son. I also would like to remember those who lost their lives in the Tree of Life massacre in Pittsburgh. That was 3 years ago, I think now. And who else has names that they would like to add? If you're in the room and you have names to add, please rise or raise your hand so that I can acknowledge you. Catherine? Ali? Anyone on Zoom? Freema?
Jack Mandel, Betty Rubel, and can I just correct a saying of a name? It's Lila Bloomfield.
Lila Bloomfield, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Anyone else? Anyone else? We also include all of those who have died from COVID-19 in our own country and around the world. We include those who have died also from other causes, whether in war or famine, terror or disaster, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. I invite you to rise if you're able and join in, or to participate according to your own custom. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudisha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved here among us and wherever they may be. And let us say amen. You may be seated.
Oseh shalom b'maromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
V'imru amen. I'd like to invite our congregational president, Adrian Knoll, to give us announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone on Zoom and everyone who braved the lousy weather to be there in the sanctuary. You know, I was just thinking a few minutes ago, it's so weird that I put on lipstick to stay home for services and no lipstick is necessary when you go to temple. Such a strange world we live in. Anyway, tomorrow, religious school in person, 10 o'clock b'yachad on Zoom, 11:45 Shabbat services in person and on Zoom. Then Tuesday, 1 o'clock, Torah study on Zoom with Rabbi Pinsky. Wednesday, confirmation class, 6 o'clock in person with Rabbi Hoover. There's some interesting things coming up. Sunday, November 7th, the Jewish Cultural Committee will be screening a film, An Unknown Country. That's at 4 o'clock. And there's going to be a Q&A with the filmmaker as well. You can sign up for that. There are links that were sent out. You can sign up on Eventbrite, or the Zoom link was also sent out, but it's preferred that you sign up via Eventbrite. And then November 9th, a week from Tuesday, Women of Beshert are meeting, and there's a special guest, Melody Winnower, congregant, neurologist, novelist, and she'll be talking about her new novel, Anticipation. And I understand it's also her official book launch party. So it should be really great. And we are doing an online holiday craft fair with 2 artisans on Etsy. The temple will get 10% of whatever you buy. So please do. The links are in the email. I think they're in the What's Happening email as well. And again, if you haven't voted yet, early voting is going on tomorrow and Sunday. And or if you don't do that, go election day, please do vote. If you don't know your poll site, go to findmypollsite.vote.nyc. And have a great week, everyone. And we'll
Adrian,
see you next week.
President Adrian,
Yes.
you did say you were going to mention the Hanukkah choir.
Oh, yes. The Hanukkah choir. Absolutely. Yes. We're all excited that the Hanukkah choir is resuming. Rehearsals are going to be held December 11th, December 18th. November 11th. Sorry about that. November 11th, November 18th, and December 2nd from 7 to 8:30. So it's a wonderful experience. You get to know your fellow congregants better. If you can sing, even better. Or if you're enthusiastic, that's okay too. And also, thank you as always to Rabbi Heidi, our cantorial soloist, Noni Schuster-Donato, and our wonderful accompanist, Michael Twarnick. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I will also just add that we are launching a adult B'nai Mitzvah class, a Brit Mitzvah class, and there's a lot of interest in it and a lot of variation in Hebrew knowledge. So we're actually going to start on November 8th with just Hebrew beginners, and we're going to do that through the end of December every other week, so it'll only be 3 or 4 meetings. I found a book called Learn to Read Hebrew in 6 weeks, so we'll see. And we're going to see how that goes. And then when I come back from the second part of my sabbatical in March is when we're going to launch the full class, where there will be part Hebrew and then part English discussion. I mean, the Hebrew was mostly going to be in English too, but discussions of liturgy. We're going to focus a lot on the various prayers, but those we're going to look at primarily in English while simultaneously working on learning some of the grammar and vocabulary of the prayer book. So even if you haven't expressed interest yet, if you are interested in that, reach out to me and I would love to include anyone who wishes to be included. We're going to close with Adon Olam, which I never know what page that's on.
625.
625 in the prayer book. I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem kol yitzir nivra Le'et nasa v'chepso kol Hazai melech shemo nikra V'acharei kiklot hakol Levado yimloch nora V'hu haya v'hu hove V'hu yiyeh בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשיל לו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גולי, וצוחף לי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו, הפקיד רוחי ביד אישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face towards you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being